The Two Chairs Exchange is a project which sees me take my academic research off the printed page and away from university campus and out into schools and communities. But what's it all about and how's it going to help? Well, the idea comes originally from 18th and 19th century Germany, particularly from the poet and intellectual Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Now, in his poetry, Goethe described a remarkably modern and sophisticated understanding of his own relationship with the Islamic world. As a European, he felt he both identified with Islam, but was also separate and different from it. He symbolised that relationship in the form of an imaginary encounter between himself, an 18th century German, and the 12th century poet from Persia called Hafiz of Shiraz. Now, these two men can never have met in reality. They lived many centuries apart. But Goethe imagined the pair meeting outside of time and space, having a dialogue in which each saw aspects of himself reflected in the other, but also understood where their mutual differences lay. Centuries later, the German city of Weimar, where Goethe spent much of his professional life, marked Goethe's remarkably enlightened and open attitude towards Islam with this monument in the year 2001, the Hafiz Goethe Denkmal. The monument depicts, as you can see, two chairs. And these two chairs symbolise, on one level, the encounter between Goethe and Hafiz from Goethe's original poems. But the chairs also symbolise any two strangers who encounter each other from different cultures, from the perspectives of different faiths, and are nevertheless in some way connected through their shared humanity. If you look closely at the sculpture itself, the two chairs are separate, distinct, set facing each other, and yet are made from the same piece of stone, from the same material. So my project brings the core idea from Goethe's poems and this sculpture to UK schools and tries to use the image of the two chairs to get across the same core idea, that our relationships with people of different faiths and cultures need both to recognise and to respect differences, but also to establish shared values, beliefs and traditions that allow us to coexist today in multicultural societies like Britain. But how's this going to map onto your lessons? How's it going to change the way you think? How's it going to help you in your religious studies GCSE? Well, let's speak to a teacher of religious studies, Cecilia Towny, to see what she has to say.
Hello, I'm Cecilia Towny and I'm Head of Religious Studies at St Catherine's School in Bramley. You're studying Christianity and Islam, and what's interesting about studying that, the challenge of that, is that at least one of those religions, and possibly both, will be a faith that you don't share. And the problem with studying a religion that's not your own is that it's tempting to take it off the shelf like an artefact in the Museum of Ideas and look at it as an interesting and weird and wonderful thing. And when you finish studying it, put it back on the shelf, because despite the fact that it's interesting, you want to walk away because it says nothing to you about your life. Now, the Two Chairs Exchange offers a very different way of thinking and learning about religion, because Two Chairs Exchange invites you to really use your imagination to put yourself, like Goethe, in the shoes of someone who has a different religion or a different worldview to you, and to look at that religion through their eyes. And when you do that, you might be challenged and you might start to think differently about that religion because you're looking at it in a way that's non-judgmental, or at least you're not judging it against your own values. And so it may be that you don't want to put it back on the shelf, but you want to think about it more deeply and compare and contrast it and look at the similarities and differences between other religious ways of thinking about the world and your own views. And this sophisticated way of thinking about religion really helps you to move on from a Key Stage 3 study of RS to a GCSE study of RS. particularly when you're looking at the 12-mark evaluation questions that invite you to compare different points of view about religious issues before giving your own opinion. Now, you can do this in a very simplistic way, saying Muslims say this, Christians say that, I think this. But a two chairs way is to say, well, Muslim X might think that for these reasons, but Muslim I might have similarities and differences but think that. And then a Christian might come into the conversation and they might think similarly to the Muslims for these reasons, but differently for these reasons. And so then when you come to your own conclusion, you've thought as much about trying to understand the other as trying to be understood yourself and explain your own point of view. And it's appreciating the subtleties within religious thinking that's really going to help you do well in these answers. Because really to understand religion is to understand that religion is coming out of lived traditions and how individuals within those lived religious traditions choose to interpret scripture or practice their faith can be various and can be different, but also the same. And we hope that using the core principles of the two chairs exchange will help you to analyse and to understand those similarities and differences between different faiths and different religious worldviews. And hopefully this will make your study of religion much more satisfying and your writing much more sophisticated. And we also hope that it will help you just to understand other people and make you someone who's more generous of spirit in your writing and in your thinking and as a person.